spiked crotch.
Yeah.
I mean, a spiked crotch and literal, actual danger spikes on the nipples on day one of a fashion competition. I am staring at the ceiling right now trying to process the visual trauma of it all.
Oh, I am still recovering from the yodeling at the Oculus, to be honest. My ears are ringing, my retinas are completely seared by flesh-tone metallic bodysuits, and I am just fully spiraling. You sit down expecting high fashion, and suddenly you are under an actual assault.
Babes, welcome back. We love you. We see you. And babes, fashion is officially back, which means we are about to have opinions we absolutely did not earn.
Oh, we did not earn them at all.
But we're going to share them anyway because you deserve the truth. We are taking a massive, incredibly detailed look into the beautiful, chaotic disaster that is the season premiere of Project Runway Season 22. And let me tell you, we have thoughts.
And you know we are not doing this unmedicated. I am holding a beautifully mixed, incredibly cold French 75 right now. We discussed this. If we're going to be judging couture, or, you know, in this episode's case, literal Halloween costumes pulled out of a dusty closet, the glassware needs to clink.
Yes, it really does.
You cannot critique high fashion while drinking a hard seltzer from an aluminum can. It is disrespectful to the craft.
Exactly. A French 75 requires precision. You've got the gin, the champagne, lemon juice, simple syrup. It is structural, it is classic, and it has this undeniable bite, which is exactly what we need for this runway.
Absolutely.
So to you listening right now, grab your overpriced beverages. Whether you are commuting, doing your skincare routine, or just pretending to work, settle in. We have a lot of delusions to unpack today. Cheers to a messy, dramatic, incredibly chaotic Season 22.
Cheers to that. May our critiques be sharp, our standards impossibly high, and our cocktails poured extremely heavy.
Okay, before we completely tear apart the garments of people who actually know how to thread a bobbin, I have a massive personal confession to make.
Oh no, what did you do?
I decided this week that I am entering my fashion era. I literally announced it to my mirror. But then I had an absolute breakdown looking in my closet post-vacation.
Oh, the post-vacation closet clarity, it's brutal.
It is. I stood there staring into the abyss of my wardrobe and realized I rotate the exact same 5 outfits over and over. It's just an endless rotation of oversized blazers, wide leg trousers, and neutral tops. I am suddenly terrified that I have zero personal style. I am just a walking beige flag.
Well, it happens to the best of us. That post-vacation closet clarity is a documented psychological phenomenon. When you travel, you live out of this carefully curated suitcase, right? You have pre-planned, intentional looks.
Right, exactly. Everything goes together.
And then you come back, open your actual closet, and realize you are basically a cartoon character who wears the same uniform every single day because of decision fatigue. It is so much easier to grab the beige trousers than it is to conceptually style a printed skirt on a Tuesday morning.
But is it decision fatigue, or am I just falling victim to the whole elevated basics scam? Because I keep seeing that phrase everywhere. My algorithm is aggressively pushing it. Invest in elevated basics. Is that just a marketing trick for people who are profoundly afraid of color and actual design?
Oh, it is 100% a marketing delusion, and we are all completely complicit. Elevated basics is a genius term invented by luxury houses to sell a plain white cotton t-shirt for $300.
It's so wild when you say it out loud like that.
And let's break down why that works. It works because fashion is 90% delusion and 10% tailoring. The idea of the elevated basic relies on the aesthetic of quiet luxury. You know, the idea that if the cut is slightly more relaxed or the fabric weight is slightly heavier, you are somehow transcending trends.
Wait, I have to push back on that just a little bit, because there's an actual physical difference between a fast fashion white t-shirt and a designer one, right? Like, it isn't entirely delusion.
There is a difference in construction, yes. It comes down to GSM, grams per square meter. A cheap t-shirt might be like 120 GSM. It's flimsy. It pills after one wash. The collar gets that awful bacon neck immediately.
Ugh, the bacon neck is the worst.
Right. But a true elevated t-shirt is usually around 250 to 300 GSM. It has mechanical weight. It hangs on the body like architectural draping rather than just clinging to your torso. But the delusion part comes in when brands charge an exponential markup just for using a slightly thicker cotton weave. If you walk into a room with enough confidence, people will believe your boring beige sweater is an avant-garde statement. It is all about the posture.
Posture and tailoring.
Nope.
Which I guess means I just need to get my 5 identical blazers tailored perfectly.
Yeah.
But speaking of pretending to have it all together, we need to pivot for a second to our real lives, because outside of recording this, we are actual functioning dentists at our respective clinics. And this week absolutely tested my limits.
The duality of our existence is staggering. Examining molars by day, judging hemlines by night, and honestly, the skill sets overlap way more than people think. Dentistry is basically microarchitecture. What was the high of your week? Give me some joy before we plunge into the runway trauma.
The high was actually incredibly sweet, and it reminded me why we put up with the chaos. I had this elderly patient who has been incredibly self-conscious about her smile for a decade. Like, she always covered her mouth when she laughed. We finally finished her restorative work, which was this massive bridge spanning her front teeth.
Oh, wow. Those cases are always so intense.
They are. And when I handed her the mirror, she just burst into happy tears. She told me she finally feels confident enough to smile in the photos for her granddaughter's upcoming wedding. It was one of those moments where you realize you are literally reconstructing someone's self-esteem.
That is beautiful. It really is life-changing. When you rebuild a smile, you are basically giving someone their social currency back. And the precision required to do that, getting the margins of that bridge to seal perfectly against the gum line, matching the opacity of the porcelain to her natural teeth, it is an art form.
Right.
It is tailoring, just in the oral cavity.
Yeah.
If your margin is off by a fraction of a millimeter, the whole structure fails, just like a bad seam on a tailored jacket.
Exactly. If the foundation is sloppy, the final product is a total disaster. But of course, the universe demands balance, so my low was an absolute massive scheduling nightmare. A double-booked root canal situation, the entire computer system crashed, and I was running between chairs like I was in an Olympic relay race just trying to keep people numb. Absolute chaos. What about you? Please tell me you had a better week.
Well, my week was a masterclass in human audacity. My high was purely pharmaceutical. It was the specific iced oat milk latte that literally resurrected my physical body at 2 p.m. on Thursday. It hit my bloodstream, and suddenly I could see colors again.
Oh, I know that exact feeling. The 2 p.m. caffeine revival.
Yes. But the low was hilarious and tragic. I had a patient come in, sit in a chair, look me dead in the eye, and swear on their life that they floss every single day.
Oh, no. As a fellow dentist, my stomach just dropped.
Yeah.
I know exactly where this is going.
I pick up the periodontal probe, which, for you listening, is essentially a tiny ruler with a blunt tip that we use to measure the health of the gums. I barely touch their tissue, and it reacts like a scene from a slasher film.
Just instant inflammation.
An absolute bloodbath. Inflammation everywhere. And I'm just looking at them holding the mirror saying, really, every day, you floss every day. The lies people tell their dentists, it's fascinating. They will lie to my face while the physical, biological evidence of their lie is literally bleeding inside their mouth.
It's the human condition. People just want to be perceived as good, responsible adults who floss. They want to project this image of perfection, even when the reality is a complete mess. Which, honestly, is exactly what happens on the runway. Designers stand in front of the judges and say, I intended for this hem to look raw and distressed, while the judges are looking at a shredded, unraveling nightmare.
Precisely. We are trained to spot the lies, but you know what those chaotic, stressful days at the clinic lead directly to, right?
Unhinged, unsupervised online shopping. It is a direct pipeline.
Yes. Retail therapy as a coping mechanism for existing in the modern world.
The online shopping chaos has been so real for me this week, but I have developed a very specific, slightly pathological coping mechanism. I will go to a luxury home goods site or a high-end boutique, and I will add 20 incredibly expensive items to my cart. I am talking silk robes, strange sculptural vases. I have literally zero room for 14 different types of hyaluronic acid serums. I build this whole fantasy life in my cart. I leave it all there for 3 days, hovering over the checkout button, getting those automated "did you forget something" emails, and then I buy absolutely none of it. I abandon the cart.
That is fascinating. What does that do for you? Because that sounds like sheer torture to me.
It makes me feel incredibly powerful. It provides this fake sense of being completely in control of my life. The dopamine hit comes from the selection process, from curating the aesthetic.
Yeah.
But the actual power comes from the restraint, saying, no, I don't actually need this.
See, I fundamentally lack that restraint gene. When I am stressed, my brain bypasses the curation phase and goes straight to the transaction. I'm currently complaining to anyone who will listen about the surprise packages arriving at my door that I completely forgot ordering.
Wait, you forget you ordered things?
All the time. I'll get an alert saying, out for delivery, and I have to genuinely interrogate my own memory. Did I order a velvet throw pillow and a set of artisan cocktail bitters at 1 a.m. on Tuesday? Yes. Yes, I did. My apartment is slowly morphing into a tiny, incredibly expensive warehouse for things I absolutely do not need.
You are single-handedly keeping the logistics industry afloat. But this lack of restraint we are talking about, this paralysis of choice versus buying everything in sight, keep that in mind, because it is exactly what ruined half the designers on the runway this week. But before we get there, I need your expert opinion on the ultimate treat-yourself online purchase.
Okay.
The one thing I actually do hit checkout on right now is perfume. Signature scents are my current hyperfixation.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the concept of the signature scent is a huge debate in the fashion community right now. Is it an essential part of the fashion era you are trying to enter?
I genuinely think it is.
Yeah.
But I want your analytical take on this. Do you think perfume is an actual accessory, or is it just an invisible afterthought?
It is absolutely the ultimate accessory. You can be wearing the most incredible, archival, perfectly tailored designer piece, but if you smell like a damp towel or like a cheap body spray, the illusion is instantly broken.
Oh, instantly.
Scent enters a room before you do, and it lingers in the air after you leave. It is called sillage, the wake of the perfume. It dictates how people perceive your visual aesthetic. A sharp, tailored wool suit requires a completely different fragrance profile, maybe something with vetiver, cedar, or leather, than a flowy, floral summer dress.
Okay, I love that philosophy, the invisible architecture of an outfit. So for you listening, if we are dressing for the current season, what scent screams summer? What is the olfactory vibe we should be aiming for?
Well, for summer, you have to fight the heat. Heat amplifies fragrance notes, so heavy ambers or ouds become totally suffocating. You need something volatile that lifts off the skin. It has to be something with bergamot, which gives that sharp citrus bite, maybe a little sea salt accord, and a hit of coconut or fig.
That sounds amazing.
Right. It needs to smell like you just walked off a yacht in the Mediterranean, even if you were just sweating on the subway platform. But here is the real question for you, and this ties directly back to our elevated basics delusion. Is a $300 bottle of niche perfume actually fundamentally better than a $30 bottle from the drugstore? Or is it just beautifully marketed colored water?
Oh, that is the million-dollar question. I think a massive part of it is the psychological weight of the heavy glass bottle, the magnetic cap that makes that satisfying little click, and the fancy French name. You're paying for the story and the packaging, but structurally I do think there is a difference in the dry down.
Elaborate on the dry down for the listeners who might just spray and walk away.
Right, so the dry down is how the scent evolves after 4 to 6 hours on your skin. Cheap perfumes often rely on synthetic top notes. They smell amazing for the first 10 minutes in the store to get you to buy them. But because they lack expensive base notes, they evaporate into this metallic kind of rubbing alcohol smell.
Ugh, yes, that harsh chemical scent.
Exactly. An expensive perfume uses high-quality raw materials, like real orris root, absolute extractions, so the scent anchors to your skin and actually smells richer the longer you wear it. Though I will fully admit, some of my most complimented scents are the cheap vanilla ones that cost $20.
It all comes back to confidence and chemistry, just like the clothes.
Exactly. But babes, enough about our own questionable fashion choices, our cart abandonment issues, and our olfactory delusions. Let's head to the runway where people actually know how to sew.
Or at least where they desperately claim they know how to sew.
Let's set the massive, echoing scene for this premiere recap. Lower Manhattan. The Oculus. Which, by the way, is a wild, incredibly hostile architectural choice for a fashion runway.
Hostile is the perfect word. For those who haven't been inside the Oculus, it was designed by Santiago Calatrava. It is supposed to represent a dove leaving a child's hands, but in reality it looks like the bleached white ribs of a giant brontosaurus that died in a subway station.
It totally does.
It is a cavernous, stark white structural background. And from a fashion perspective, a pure white marble environment acts as a massive light bounce. It shoots light up from the floor, illuminating every single hemline, every puckered seam, every stray thread. There is nowhere to hide. You cannot rely on moody set design.
It is completely unforgiving. And out walks Heidi Klum, looking stunning, of course, but wearing this crazy shredded sleeve outfit. It looked like she accidentally walked through an industrial paper shredder on her way to the venue. And joining her is our beloved mentor, Christian Siriano. And right out of the gate, they drop a massive twist. We are not looking at 12 designers. We're looking at 22. The largest cast in the show's history.
22 completely unvetted egos standing in that stark white ribcage. I felt exhausted just looking at the wide shot. The sheer volume of nervous energy in that room was palpable.
And the challenge itself, the gag of this premiere, is that they didn't have to run through mood fabrics for 30 minutes and sew something in 8 hours. The prompt was simply to bring your best look from home. No budget constraints, no time limits, no theme restrictions whatsoever, and the stakes. 6 designers win immunity for the next challenge, and 6 are eliminated immediately. A bloodbath right out of the gate.
I have so many conflicting thoughts on this challenge structure.
I actually kind of loved it. I feel like it gives the designers a rare chance to show their pure, unadulterated soul as an artist. When you remove the trauma, the sleep deprivation, and the artificial panic of a one-day time limit, you get a true baseline. We get to see exactly who they are and what they consider their ultimate aesthetic.
See, I completely disagree. I think it is a brilliant, insidious psychological trap.
A trap.
Think about what we just discussed with your online shopping cart. When you have no boundaries, no budget, and no ticking clock, you fall into the paradox of choice. Constraints actually breed creativity. If I tell you to make a dress out of burlap in 3 hours, you hyperfocus. You edit. But if I tell you make whatever you want, take 6 months, spend whatever you want, you lose your editing eye. You add another ruffle, you add some spikes, you overcomplicate it.
Oh, wow. That makes so much sense.
Exactly. And more importantly, it completely removes their ability to make excuses to the judges. If you have unlimited time, the comfort of your own studio, your own sewing machines, and you still bring absolute garbage to the runway, you cannot blame the clock, you cannot blame Christian for distracting you, you just have fundamentally bad taste. You are exposed.
That is such a profound point. There is no scapegoat. Your aesthetic is laid bare. And speaking of huge presences exposing people, we need to talk about the judging panel. Specifically, the Tyra Banks of it all.
Oh, the Tyra of it all. The atmosphere shifted the second she sat down.
We have the iconic Nina Garcia, the legendary image architect Law Roach, and now Tyra Banks joins the panel. I was actually thrilled to see her. She brings the camp, she brings the reality TV pedigree, she understands how to manufacture a viral moment.
I was fully spiraling over Tyra's aggressive main character energy. She did not come to be a quiet, thoughtful addition to the panel. She came to produce, did you see the styling? The elbow-length leather gloves, the massive, chunky gold necklace that looked like she stole it in a high-stakes museum hype.
The gloves were giving, I do not want to leave fingerprints at the scene of the crime. Very supervillain chic.
And she was slipping right back into her America's Next Top Model elimination monologues. It was surreal to watch. She doesn't just give a critique, she gives a dramatic performance.
Let's call out that specific moment with R'Bonney. For you listening who might not follow pageants, R'Bonney was Miss Universe 2022. She is a trained designer, and she is incredibly used to intense pressure and media training. But Tyra zeroes in on her and delivers this long, winding, dramatic speech. She pauses, she drops her voice, and she tells R'Bonney how her denim look was good, which is not good enough.
It was so hateful.
It was so drawn out, so painfully theatrical, that Heidi Klum literally had to cut in and interrupt her just to remind everyone what show they were actually on.
It was a pure power play. Tyra was essentially marking her territory. She was telling the panel, I am the veteran reality television host here. Let me show you how to build dramatic tension for the commercial break. But Heidi, who's the executive producer, was having absolutely none of it. She shut it down.
Coldly shut it down.
But the moment that actually fed my soul was the clash with Law Roach. The tension there is going to sustain me all season.
Oh my gosh, the critique of Anna's look. Anna was the designer who used the upcycled materials, the recycled leather, and the thousands of soda tabs linked together as chains. And Tyra, trying to force a witty, sassy moment, leans over to Law Roach and jokes, she's gonna whip you with those chains.
And Law did not miss a single beat. He just snapped back, ice cold, deadpan, she ain't gonna touch me with them chains. I lived for it.
It was so awkward, but so good.
Law does not play those reality TV banter games. He is an image architect. He is there to judge the geometry of the garment, the styling, the editorial viability. He is not going to let Tyra orchestrate a fake, campy moment at his expense. He shut down the foolishness immediately.
The dynamic on that panel is going to be electric. Law is unapologetic and demanding. Nina is fiercely editorial and looks at the commercial viability, and Tyra is desperately searching for the theatrical soundbite. It is the perfect storm. Let's get into the actual garments, because there were some absolute triumphs and some deeply offensive crimes against fashion. Let's talk about the designers who actually deserved to show at Fashion Week. Who had your favorite look?
Okay, let's unpack the triumphs. My absolute favorite look, and honestly the one that gave me the most hope for the technical baseline of this entire season, was Jude Mikulincack's impeccably tailored gray skirt suit.
The incredibly young designer, he is only around 21 or 23 years old, right?
Exactly, he is shockingly young. But he delivered an absolute masterclass in traditional tailoring. And tailoring is the hardest thing to fake on a runway. If you are doing a flowy chiffon gown, you can hide a lot of sins. A messy hem gets lost in the movement. But a structured heather gray tailored suit, every single dart, every seam, the lapel roll, it all has to be mathematically perfect.
Can you break down why that is for the listeners? Like, why is a suit so much harder than a dress?
Absolutely. When you tailor a suit, you're taking a flat, two-dimensional piece of woven wool, which has no stretch, and you're forcing it to perfectly contour to a three-dimensional human body. You do this using darts. A dart is when you pinch a wedge of fabric and sew it to a point, creating a curve over the bust or the waist.
Right, which sounds simple, but is actually so hard.
If your dart is off by 1/4 of an inch, the fabric puckers and bubbles. Furthermore, Jude used heather gray. Heather gray reflects light incredibly evenly. If there is even a hint of tension in a seam, it creates a shadow drag line that screams amateur. But Jude's suit had 0 drag lines. It was pristine.
It was so sharp, it looked incredibly expensive. And the styling was genius. He paired this rigid, serious gray suit with these little boxer shorts peeking out from under the skirt and these perfectly crisp, layered white shirts.
My analogy for this look is that it felt like the architectural scaffolding of a skyscraper, but made of wool. It was giving young Alexander McQueen mixed with the quirky melancholy of a Wes Anderson film. When you can take a quiet corporate color like heather gray, put it in a room of 22 screaming, desperate designers throwing sequins and neon at the judges and make it the most compelling thing on the runway, that is immense talent. That is knowing how to command attention with a whisper.
I completely agree that the tailoring was flawless. Nina Garcia was obsessing over the crispness of those white shirts. But my pick for the best look is coming from a totally different emotional place. I am drawn to narrative and joy. My favorite was Varvara, who goes by Bobby Diakonikova. She sent down this bright turquoise, heavily quilted dress.
Oh, the quilting. That was certainly a choice.
It was a brilliant choice. It had this sweet Peter Pan collar, short sleeves, and these stark black stripes painted or appliqued down the front. I just swooned over it. It felt so joyful, but also profoundly weird.
Let's talk about the mechanics of quilting for a second, because it is incredibly risky for fashion. Quilting means you are sewing 3 layers together: the outer fabric, the thick batting in the middle, and the backing fabric. When you sew through all 3, you create structure, but you also create massive bulk. It can so easily look like a heavy winter blanket or a mattress pad.
Exactly, which is why I was so impressed. She managed to control that volume. She used the quilting to create this rigid A-line bell shape that stood away from the model's body, but the youthful Peter Pan collar kept it from looking like upholstery. It popped under those harsh Oculus lights.
I will concede that the color was beautiful on her model, Friday, but this brings up a crucial debate about the format of the show versus the reality of the upcoming challenges. Jude's tailoring is phenomenal, but can he replicate that insane mathematical precision in a standard one-day challenge when they only have 8 hours in the workroom? Proper tailoring requires pad stitching the lapel canvas by hand. It takes days. I worry he might crack under the cloth.
That is a very fair analytical point. And on the flip side, with my pick, Bobby, I worry she might lean a little too costume-heavy in the future. The turquoise quilted dress was stunning, but it was borderline theatrical. If she doesn't know how to edit her weirdness, she could end up creating cartoon characters instead of fashion collections.
Which is the perfect, seamless transition to our next topic. From the absolute peaks of the runway to the absolute pits. Let's unpack the design misses, because some deeply offensive choices were made.
Horrible, horrible choices. Let's start with what we are officially dubbing the drag queen curse.
It is a known, documented phenomenon at this point. Designing for the drag stage is fundamentally, structurally different than designing for an editorial fashion runway. And Plain Jane, coming straight off Drag Race Season 16, proved this point painfully.
Oh, Plain Jane. I expected so much more. She brought a flesh-toned, sparkly bodysuit covered in metal danger spikes. Spikes on the massive shoulders, spikes on the crotch, literal spikes on the nipples.
I completely agree with Law Roach's critique here. It is not fashion, it is a stunt. It is a Halloween costume meant for a nightclub. Let's talk about the physics of lighting. Stage wear for drag queens is designed to be seen from 50 feet away in a dimly lit club under heavy pink and amber gel lights.
Right, the lighting is completely different.
Exactly. Under those conditions, a flesh-toned mesh disappears and the rhinestones catch the light beautifully. But a fashion runway uses high-definition, flat white LED lighting. The inverse square law of light means every single detail is exposed. Under runway lights, her flesh-toned mesh looked yellow, cheap, and totally unmatched to the model's actual skin tone. The spikes looked like gimmicky plastic glued on at the last minute. It was a cry for attention, not a display of design aesthetics.
I honestly felt so bad for the Drag Race girls. Because then we had Robbie, who competes as QAnon Drag Race. Robbie is actually known as a brilliant, meticulous costume designer. We have seen Q construct masterpieces. But Robbie brought this chintzy pink and black dress that just looked utterly confused.
It was a victim of severe over-editing and second-guessing. Christian Siriano came into the workroom and got in Robbie's head, which, to be fair, is Christian's job. He's supposed to push them out of their comfort zones. But Robbie didn't have the conviction to stand by the original design, nor the clarity to pivot successfully. When you lose your nerd halfway through a garment, it shows in the seams.
You could literally see it on the runway. Robbie looked so sad, so defeated. The confidence just completely evaporated. And when a designer doesn't believe in the garment, the judges smell the fear immediately. They can sense apologies in the M-line.
And speaking of fear and Halloween costumes, we have to talk about Jennifer Daniels.
I am devastated by this. Jennifer is a former Project Runway model. She walks this very runway. She knows this show inside and out. She knows what Nina Garcia hates. She's returning as a designer, which is such an incredible narrative arc. And what does she bring? A sheer dress covered in overlapping fake green leaves,
Which she literally verbally admitted she wore for Halloween as poison ivy.
Christian Siriano literally warned her in the workroom. He said, do not tell the judges that this is a Halloween costume. And what does she do? She basically tells them,
I am ruthless about this. Think back to our discussion about the No Limits Challenge. You had months to prepare for the biggest opportunity of your professional life. You had no budget restrictions. You had no ticking clock. You could have drafted custom patterns, sourced Italian silks, and created a masterpiece to show the world who Jennifer Daniels, the designer, is.
so true.
And you packed your Party City leftovers. It is insulting to the competition. It shows a profound lack of respect for the platform. If you have unlimited time and you bring a worn costume, you absolutely deserve to be eliminated on day one.
It broke my heart because I wanted to root for her, but I couldn't defend it. But here is where we might disagree, because we need to tackle the most baffling moment of the episode, the marshmallow controversy.
Oh, don't even get me started. My blood pressure is rising just thinking about the structural failure of that garment.
Did the judges get it right with Brian Barrientos? Let me describe this look for you listening. Brian brought this massively oversized, quilted white comforter jacket worn over a tiny mini dress. Tyra called it a marshmallow I want to devour. And not only was he declared safe from elimination, he won immunity. He is immune for the next challenge.
I am furious. I am genuinely structurally furious. It looked like a dirty duvet that had been dragged across a dorm room floor. Remember how we praised Bobby for controlling the volume of her quilting? Brian did the exact opposite. The volume was completely uncontrolled. The proportions utterly swallowed the model. And the back. The back of that garment was an absolute structural mess.
Explain what you mean by a structural mess. Like, what was actually wrong with it?
When you create extreme avant-garde volume, you cannot just stuff fabric with batting like a cheap throw pillow. You have to build inner scaffolding. You use crinoline. You use horsehair braid in the hems to make them stand out. You use inner corsetry so the garment anchors to the body while the volume floats around it. Brian used none of that. He just made a giant lumpy pillowcase. The fact that this sloppy execution beat out other much more refined looks is an absolute indictment of the judging panel.
Okay, let me try to play devil's advocate here. Even though I agree the construction was rough, Heidi Klum has a historically documented love for weird, massive avant-garde silhouettes. She loves volume, she loves spectacle, she loves things that look bizarre walking down a runway.
That's true. She does love a spectacle.
Right, so Brian gave them a massive visual moment. In a room of 22 people, where half the designers played it safe with pretty prom dresses, maybe the judges just rewarded the sheer audacity of making something so huge that you couldn't look away from it.
Audacity is not a substitute for execution. Anyone can be loud. It takes skill to be good. I think the producers gave him immunity because they know his massive ego and his history with the other designers is going to make for excellent television. Not because that was one of the 6 best garments in the room.
Which brings us perfectly to our next question. Who actually has the stamina to make it to Fashion Week? Looking at the safe girls and the winners, Who has the vision for a full, cohesive collection? Let's talk about the designer with the most unique point of view. For you, who is that?
I want to hear your take first. Who stood out to you creatively?
I have to go with Anna Molinari. The sustainable angle is so compelling right now. She used recycled leather and over 8,000 soda pop tabs to create these intricate woven chains for her strapless dress. I love an eco-friendly underdog who can take absolute trash, literal garbage bound for a landfill, and engineer it to look like a luxury garment.
I am deeply skeptical, and let me tell you why. Let's look at the bigger picture of how this competition works. Upcycling is a fantastic gimmick for a single challenge. Linking 8,000 soda tabs is visually cool and edgy. But creating a new textile out of non-textile materials is incredibly time-consuming. Sourcing and linking 8,000 tabs takes weeks.
That's true. It took her months at home.
She will not have weeks in a standard one-day challenge. Furthermore, can she actually sew? Can she handle a bias-cut silk charmeuse? Can she tailor wool? We need to see her with a bolt of regular fabric for mood before I declare her a frontrunner.
That is very fair. You want to see the foundational skills, not just the gimmick. So who is your dark horse? Who is quietly creeping up to the finale?
Aaron Potts. He sent down this incredibly quiet, pure white tent dress. It was voluminous, but it had so much restraint. Think about what we said earlier. In a room full of 22 screaming designers, throwing spikes and soda tabs and quilted teal blankets at the judges, whispering is the most powerful way to get noticed.
Explain the mechanics of that dress, because it looks so simple, but it moved beautifully.
It moved beautifully because it was likely cut on the bias. Cutting on the bias means you lay your pattern pieces at a 45-degree angle to the street grain of the woven fabric. It is a technique popularized in the 1920s. It completely changes the physics of the cloth.
It gives it that stretch, right?
Yeah, exactly. Woven fabric doesn't stretch, but when cut on the bias, it suddenly gains mechanical stretch. It clings to the curves and drapes like liquid. Aaron showed a maturity and a confidence that a lot of the younger, louder designers lack. He didn't need bells and whistles, he just needed a masterful drape.
That is so profound, the physics of the bias cut. But on the flip side of that maturity, let's talk about the biggest weakness, or the designer who has the most urgent, desperate need for growth.
Joseph McRae, without a doubt.
I was so happy to see him back. For you listening, his exit in season 21 was incredibly dramatic. He was essentially voted out by his fellow designers. I love a reality TV redemption arc.
I love a redemption arc too, but only when there is actual, tangible redemption. I was exhausted the second his model walked out onto the marble floor. He sent down the exact same aesthetic he did last season. Baggy, oversized streetwear, heavily layered and topped with a giant stacked beanie hat. It was a copy-paste from his previous portfolio.
Wait, I want to push back on this. Isn't that just his brand? We constantly tell designers to stay true to who they are and know their customer. Streetwear is a massive, multi-billion-dollar industry. Why should he completely change his DNA and suddenly make evening gowns just because he's back on TV?
Because if you get a rare second chance on reality television, you have to show evolution instantly. The judges, the audience, we all remember exactly why you were eliminated last time. If you come back and serve us the exact same plate of food, we're going to get bored.
Okay, I hear that.
You have to prove that you spent your time away, growing, refining your construction skills, and elevating your taste level. The beanie felt like a crutch to hide a lack of styling vision. Kristen Siriano even tried to warn him in the workroom about the styling being too literal to his past mistakes. He needs to show versatility, or he's going to be sent packing again very quickly.
The judges definitely clocked it. Law Roach was visibly unamused. You have to play the game to win the game. Which leads us to our final segment, Runway Predictions. It's time to put our money where our snark is. Let's make some bets for the rest of season 22.
Let's do it. Put it on the record. Who is the designer you think is most likely to win the whole thing?
I am locking in Chloe Magleby. She's the designer from Utah. She grew up in the Mormon church, and she has this fascinating backstory about how she rebelled against that strict, modest upbringing by designing these incredibly sexy, boundary-pushing garments. She made that stunning, backless burgundy red lace two-piece.
Oh, that lace look was really strong.
It was daring, but the fit was impeccable. Lace is notoriously difficult to work with because it has no solid structure, but she tailored it perfectly to the model. She understands a woman's body, she understands sex appeal without crossing into vulgarity, and let's be honest, she has a really compelling personal narrative for television.
I see that. The narrative is strong, and the execution of the lace was definitely there. but I'm firmly locking in Jude, the 21-year-old tailor. I really believe that foundational construction skills will always win out in the end on Project Runway. You can teach a tailor how to be a little more avant-garde with their silhouettes, but you cannot teach an avant-garde concept artist how to properly tailor a wool jacket in 8 hours. Jude has the technical chops to survive the brutal time constraints of this show.
Okay, what about the first breakout star? Someone who might not win the grand prize, but is going to be everywhere in fashion magazines after this.
Andrei Volkov, the Ukrainian designer. Did you see his look? The black sequin skirt paired with that severe black corset jacket. The back cutouts were insane. They look like architectural negative space.
Oh, the negative space was incredible.
It was giving major Daphne Guinness high goth editorial vibes. It was dark, it was edgy, and it was impeccably constructed. He has a very clear, highly editorial vision. I guarantee you celebrity stylists are already clamoring to pull his pieces for red carpet editorials.
I absolutely agree. That look took my breath away when the model turned around and you saw the engineered cutouts. Now, for the reality TV drama, what is the biggest upcoming rivalry we need to watch out for? Because the producers are definitely planting seeds.
It has to be BiFam versus Brian Barrientos.
Oh, the lived-in real-world drama. This isn't just a reality TV manufactured fight over someone stealing a spool of thread. Bi actually used to work for Brian in the real-world fashion industry. They have history, and they clearly despise each other.
And the inciting incident to light the powder keg has already happened in episode 1. Brian made that messy, structurally failing white marshmallow comforter and somehow won immunity.
Ugh, the marshmallow.
Right. And Bai made a really cool, technically proficient, tailored look with those intricate sparkle mesh sleeves that the judges liked, but he was just declared safe. You could literally see the rage burning in Bai's eyes. Knowing your former boss, who you firmly believe is less talented than you, just won immunity for a giant pillowcase. That resentment is going to boil over in the workroom.
It is a psychological pressure cooker waiting to explode. I cannot wait to watch the fallout. But speaking of exploding, we have to talk about this brutal cliffhanger they left us on. Give me one completely chaotic prediction for how this first elimination is going to end.
It was so deeply cruel of the producers to do this to us.
Let's set the context for you listening. The episode ends with 4 designers left standing alone on the runway, facing the bottom. Plain Jane, Robbie, who is Q, R'Bonney, and Jeffrey Kelly Abess. Jeffrey, by the way, made that wild 3D floating pearl Botticelli chandelier dress that completely restricted his model's movement. 3 of them are going home immediately. Only 1 gets to stay. What is your chaotic, cynical prediction?
My prediction is cynical, but I know exactly how this reality television machine works. They're going to save Plain Jane.
No. Wait, you really think so? Over Q or R'Bonney?
Yes.
Right.
From a pure design standpoint, her outfit was hot garbage. The spiked flesh tone suit was the worst, most technically flawed thing on the runway. But during the critiques, she looked Tyra Banks dead in the eye and called her an icon.
Oh, she definitely knew what she was doing.
She knows exactly how to pander to the judges' egos. More importantly, television production knows she makes amazing, highly volatile reality TV. She is a known commodity for starting drama, delivering sound bites, and producing viral clips. They will absolutely sacrifice a better designer with a quieter personality just to keep the villain in the workroom for at least a few more episodes to guarantee ratings.
It makes me so mad as a fan of design, but I completely 100% agree with your logic. It makes total cynical sense. You don't cast a major loud personality from another franchise just to cut them on day 1 before they can even start a fight over a sewing machine.
Exactly.
Q looked too defeated, R'Bonney's denim look was too boring for TV, and Jeffrey's chandelier costume proved he doesn't understand wearability.
Yeah.
They will absolutely keep the loudest voice in the room.
It is the harsh reality of the business. You have to survive the TV show to get the chance to show the clothes.
Babes, we are fully spiraling. We are completely invested, but now we need to hear from you. It is time to turn the conversation over to the Snark Squad.
We want all your unfiltered, deeply opinionated thoughts.
We have 3 big questions for you this week. First, which runway look was your absolute favorite? Are you team tailoring with Jude or team quilted joy with Bobby? Second, what is one fashion trend you will absolutely never give up, even if Law Roach himself begs you to take it off?
Oh, I will take my 2014 asymmetrical hem shirts to the grave. I do not care what Law says.
And finally, if money did not matter at all, which of these 22 designers would you want constructing garments and dressing you every single day? Let us know in the comments or scream it at us on social media.
And if you loved spiraling with us today, exploring the physics of tailoring and the delusion of elevated basics, please hit that subscribe button, leave us a 5-star review. It legitimately helps us keep the French 75s flowing, and share this with another fashion-loving babe in your life.
We have a long, messy, incredibly dramatic season ahead of us, and we cannot wait to unpack every single jagged white line, every drop stitch, and every murky diagnostic moment of these runway walks with you. Stay fabulous, stay fashionable, and we'll see you on the snark side.